Hi everyone, this is James Dean. You're listening to the Route to Networking podcast. Today, I've got a special guest, Pavel Odinstov, who is the co-founder of FastNetMon. Today, we're going to learn all about Pavel's background, how he got started in the security space, what he's up to now, and where he sees the future of security going. How are you, Pavel?
Hello. I'm just wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. So I will be happy to talk about my story, about FastNetMon in general, and all stuff happening in cybersecurity field.
Perfect. Yeah, it's been good to finally speak. We've had the call booked in for a couple of months now, right? So it's good to get this set up. One place I always like to start, Pavel, is how did you get started in the world of security?
Oh, actually, it was a very long story for myself because back in time I got formal education in computer science, and then I started working, as expected. I got an internship, then I got my first job as Perl developer. So it was focused only on development of software. So I had requirements, I had list of tasks, and then I had many weeks to implement what I asked it to do. It's like old style software development, but just by accident, my first company I worked for, this company was a domain name registrar. And my first project was to implement billing integration with a new department introduced by company. It was hosting department. That was how I was dragged into not software engineering. And after that, I spent around 5 years in heavy operation of Linux operating systems. So started as software engineers and moved to operations. And after that, I was invited to join a company in cloud compute area as a technical co-founder, as CTO. And it was first place where I met cybersecurity because our company operated in very low margin hosting services. We had plenty of customers. If I remember correctly, it was about 25,000 in total, but very cheap, on minimum possible borderline of you can afford to sell. And can you imagine, we had lots of problems with DDoS. So for first time, it started one attack per month. It was something incredible. Everyone, wow, it's exciting. I mean, it's dangerous. It's broke our network. After maybe a few more months, okay, we accepted once per month we have some issues with network.
Yeah.
In coming months, it became once per week. And at some point of time, when actually I left this company, it was around 6 attacks on daily basis, every single work day. So this is how I was dragged into cybersecurity because for first time, it was minor issue for me as CTO, as a system administrator. But with any days in months coming, it became more and more important. So at some point of time, I was involved. I wouldn't say it's full time, but maybe 20% of my time was allocated just to deal with cybersecurity issues, to talk with network operators, to find out what we can do and how we can stop them. So I would say I was dragged into cybersecurity by urgent need to deal with problems.
Yeah, it's funny. Not many people set out to do the role they're now in, but it just seems to kind of there was a need when they worked at X company and that come about. So yeah, obviously you were pursuing a career as a software engineer in the first place. What kind of drew you to the software engineering space as such?
It wasn't a hard choice because since childhood I started I would call it was start of my career. I started my career at home by disassembling my father's sound amplifiers, different types of audio systems. I was curious what's inside. It's one of the things which followed my I need to check what's inside, how it works, what is the kind of magic happens inside. But problem was I was just wonderful in disassembling stuff. And at some point of time, sometimes my father was able okay, I can put it back. But on final steps of my career, I was 8 years, and my father just looked at what I did, and I gave up. I cannot put it back because it was disassembled so hard way. And so then, if you master your skills in disassembling stuff, at some point of time, you need to do something on your own, assemble something. And I had problems with this kind of option. And so, when I finished my school, I maybe I need to learn to have to actually do something good instead of just assembling stuff. And so that's how I decided to join a computer science course in university.
And when you first started university, with computer science. What was apart from breaking things and putting them back together, what was it that kind of made you passionate about
that? Back in time, I had major passion about physics.
Yeah.
And this how actually I started my education in university, not from first time as a computer science, because like I spent around one course and I as applied physicist. So it was actually a great experience because, in school I was like passionate about like physics, about all that stuff. And then maybe it was a great idea because like my local university introduced like a very new shiny course about physics, like brand new, like not stuff like typical because, universities, they have very quite old like courses, old program, but this one just shiny new, like everything was new. So they had course on Linux. Can you imagine? That was 2005. And like Linux, like C language, like lots of like distributed systems, like wow, it looks exciting. So I had like a great deal of interest about like how actually can assemble stuff, and applied physics is quite close to what you assemble, like literally everything. But like quite soon I realized that like it's not actually my cup of tea. And then like I just got confirmation that okay, in school I had passion like in physics, but it has nothing to do with applied physics like when it's like as your full-time job. And then so I switched to computer science, and that's how it was in my case.
You started a business very young, didn't you? I know you touched on it earlier, but you co-founded a business pretty much straight out of university. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely right.
What was the motivation to do that then? Most people would just get into a grad scheme or...
Oh, so it was a weird story. So because actually I started working on my third course of university. It wasn't part-time job. It was like full-time job because it was, I was born in a small town called Samara. It's like literally middle of nowhere. And problem is we had no great selection of like shiny computer companies. And because like mostly computers, and back in my university times, it was about selling computers, not about writing software. It was something amazing because like most of the stuff about computers around me was like, we can do website for you. That's all. That's first offering of like technological companies in my hometown, and last. But at some point of time, my friend, actually my classmate from physics course I started, like I switched from it, but we kept like relation. You're like, we have great company which you may be interested in because they have Linux and Perl, but their position was full-time only. It's like chance, like one of the million in my hometown. It was literally impossible to find out any kind of like software engineering job, but this one was great technology, great stuff. It was like, I'm in. And then I had lots of problems with my university. I was about to be kicked out about 3 times, but I survived it.
Oh, because your grades were so bad, or?
When you try to work like full-time university and full-time job, you need to sacrifice something sometimes. But job, it wasn't. I wasn't able to sacrifice my job because I didn't expect that. Back in time I was so young, and so I didn't expect that I can get so great job second time. It was like, wow, it's like winning millions of pounds. Like, just keep it, stick with it.
So you finished uni and then you started your own business pretty much straight away.
And not actually. I joined it as co-founder after having 2 years at this job. I worked with this guy for like this company, and so he offered like maybe we can work together and work in like cloud compute area. And again, like back in time, it was just dream job, but now they're offering me like to work on stuff on my own stuff. Again, I just go for it. It's exciting.
That's quite exciting. Yeah, I imagine at such a young age as well. How big did the company get to?
So far this company still exists actually. They have about like 45 people, but when I left it, we had 25 folks. Most of them support like technical support team because it's hosting company, and main like area of what you need to do to answer customer questions, like many of them saying like lots of issues with like Apache, PHP, MySQL.
You mentioned earlier as well, obviously about the attacks going from like once a month to 6 a day. Attacks is something that has been an ever-growing part of the security space. But for you personally, being involved in such a young age and being a co-founder of a business at such a young age, what do you think has been the most significant changes in networks or in security, since you've been involved?
So I would say, for first time actually, when at my company we started getting DDoS attacks, I started talking with friends in my industry, like from telecoms, data centers, and many of them were like, no, we don't see them that often. So are you talking, real stuff, or you are just aggregating so many attacks per daily basis? Like it just cannot be, because even for large folks from large companies, we don't see them, and only one company who actually trusted my complaints and my questions, it was my ISP, and they saw exactly same number of attacks. We can see you're definitely not aggregating. You have many of them, and many reasons why we had it this way, because I suppose we had quite large and diverse audience of our customers from many countries, from many backgrounds. Many of them were from gaming industry. It was just, I would say it was just emerging. There was many Minecraft service, Counter-Strike service, and they're very well known to attract so much DDoS attack. But what changed now? Everyone perfectly know about DDoS attacks. Like all people in technical industry, they experienced them in first hand. And now it's even more different, because sometimes we also can hear about businesses completely devastated and ruined by DDoS attacks.
I'm not massively technical myself, so it would be good for you to give me an insight, but also as well, some of the listeners on here may not know specifically what a DDoS attack is. So what is a DDoS attack?
So a DDoS attack, to be precise, so first of all, it's distributed. So all the time, because terminology is quite misleading sometimes, because typically people use DOS/DDoS, but it's a problem, because it doesn't explain everything what we're working with, because distributed, it's all the time. It involves at least thousands of some different devices attacking your website or your service. It's typically quite small amount of requests, but because of number of them. And typically, like service, they're attacking it's not prepared to this number of requests. For example, it may be it's just maybe site of local council, and they have maybe 20,000 of residents. But if some bad guy starts attack having 100,000 of fake residents just opening their main page, or just opening how I can move into your borough, or what's what happening, and because of scale, because of number of them, it just knocks service down. And so first of all, it leads to exponential spike of resource consumption for some short time. Services may be able to handle, because all the time they have some spare capacity, because every single service built to have some in between some gaps, some spare capacity to make it a little bit more. We have on average maybe 100 visitors for a day, but typically service is built to handle maybe 1,000 visitors, but not 10,000 or 100,000. And at some point of time, it just knocks service down, and that's all. And at this point of time, you need to do some magic. You need to allocate more resources. You need to hire maybe some special company, or try to do magic, or deploy FastNetMon, at least to understand. Because one of the great problems is DDoS attacks. So I would say it started happening quite recently. Maybe a few years ago, people just blame DDoS attacks for their faults. Like misconfiguration, it's called DDoS now.
DDoS attack. Why would somebody do a DDoS attack though? Is it just out of vendetta, or is it to try and dip into other parts of the site, or?
Oh, I would call it gray area. Of course, my understanding is very limited, because first problem with DDoS attacks, they are very distributed, and they're coming from different countries, different services. And sometimes people can we're able to track who actually started it, but I never saw it in person. It's extremely complicated to find out who actually started it. Because if somebody buys DDoS attack from bad guys, this specific bad guy you bought attack from, he will never ever start attack. He will came or she will came to different guy or girl and buy it again. And then maybe in chain, we may have tens of people working on different levels, and only on the end of that line, specific person who actually starts attack and has access to every single hacked machine across the planet and press the button. So you can see we have problem. But what we experience and what we can confirm, so most of the time, of course, it's hate. I don't like this site. I don't like what they are talking about. I don't like their idea. I don't like this specific person. Again, what I mentioned like previously, it's gamer sites. So if somebody like your clan was like failed in some competition, it's one of the things. Yeah, really, it's quite common. But next thing, what we witnessed, like, and like, it's developing markets, it's competition. It typically happens on extremely competitive and very fast growing markets. Like, because for many developing countries, internet is just emerging. It's hard to believe actually, but they just, many countries just go like, and many, not countries, many regions, they just got access for first time. When can you imagine some densely populated areas, they just got internet and they immediately, like, people and say like, it's gold mine. It's like you can sell internet and earn $1,000s. And then people like competitors, they start, maybe we can knock them down and then we will get more customers. So business background can be clearly traced because, we had experience with 3 different countries and scenario was exactly the same. It was like countries started growing, like few companies, then tens and hundreds of companies, and then DDoS is just mascara. Like everyone DDoSes everyone because they just use it like maybe can knock them down. So it's one of the things.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things as well. If you're not involved in it daily, you don't really hear about it too much unless it's a really bad attack and hear about a website being taken down or put on ice or whatnot. So obviously you mentioned that DDoS being the big changes in the DDoS space since you've been involved. What's happening right now do you think that's most concerning for you?
I would say it's one of the things, of course, most concerning things that's because, in terms of protocols, typically DDoS attacks are run by protocol called UDP. And problem is because of, development of protocols, IETF recently introduced a new version of HTTP protocol, HTTP3, which uses UDP protocol. Because back in time, it was extremely simple just to filter out DDoS attacks, just literally filtering out UDP protocol. Because typically UDP protocol, it's not that widely used outside of networks. It's like typically you can run your own DNS service. You can like have your local, like maybe VoIP service, like a few exemptions, and then you can ban everything. And then you can be safe because it's simple, it's nice, it's reliable, it works. It can be implemented using lightweight like ACLs on switch or router. But because, HTTP uses UDP protocol, we cannot filter it out. And it just eliminates option for simple and cheap DDoS filtering for small companies. So they need to move to more sophisticated and way more expensive equipment, services to filter it out. So it's quite concerning, but it's more about we just need to improve tools. We just need to find out what we can do. So it's really concerning because we can see many companies who actually suffered from it, and they cannot like use their old approaches for DDoS mitigation because we can't filter out the UDP anymore. So
just on that, then that's one of the things you're working on at the moment with FastNetMon. What do just tell the audience here just a little bit what do FastNetMon do?
So FastNetMon solves one of the first problems with DDoS attack because when you experience DDoS attacks, your network is dead. In many cases, if you, for example, work from home, it means that you even cannot access your network just to check what's happening. It's just dead. And in many cases, you may need to travel, and that's, it's quite complicated because of still many countries are still in pandemic situation. And you need to find out what is the target of attack because even for small networks, they have tens of thousands of different hosts. Typically with different IPs, different services. And when your network is dead, you have 20,000, for just imagine 20,000 like possible victims. And you cannot say like, this one, you cannot just speculate because it's not 1, it's not 5, it's not 10, you may guess, it's thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes millions. And FastNetMon solves one first problem. It helps you to find out what is the target of attack. So in network terms, it helps you to find out what is the IP is under attack right now. It's first think about FastNetMon, how it can help you. So instead of like just logging into your equipment, running TCP dump, looking what's happening, but again, your network is disrupted. So you may not be able to log in into SSH from first attempt, and second attempt you may need to tell to data center. In case of FastNetMon, you just will receive IP 1, 2, 3, 4 is under attack, and then you know what you can do. And second problem what FastNetMon can solve, it can automatically mitigate. So what does it mean? Mitigation is quite overloaded terminology, but what we mean in FastNetMon. So FastNetMon can create BGP announce to do different things because it depends on company, what company you want to do. So, but FastNetMon just automates actions. So we receive attack, and then FastNetMon can create BGP announce with specific community, with specific IP, which is set to target of attack, or network which is network which includes host under attack, specific community priorities, and next hop. And then it just announces to your routers and your backbone. And then it's up to network administrator what they can do. Okay. Sometimes they want just to black hole it, literally stop all traffic to this host. And it may sound dangerous, it may sound harsh, because literally we are under attack, and intentions of attackers are just to stop service, shut it down, stop working. And what we do, we just like help them. But in this term, it's more about different points of perspective, because again, ISP has thousands of services. And what we do using black hole, we sacrifice one of them, like fraction of % of customer base to save everything and get network running. And then, you know, in way more quiet environment, very more calm environment, we can think what we can do next. What we can do next, again, using BGP service, specific affected service can be moved to scribing center. And scribing center, it may be, it means actually we may have some equipment for filtering DDoS attack in our network. It's typical on-premise scribing. Again, we create from FastNetMon side, we create BGP panels, which instead of moving somewhere outside of our network, just moves traffic, like malicious traffic away from or normal path backbone to specifically allocated equipment, which is well prepared for DDoS attacks, and filters them out. And last option, I would call it last resort option. It can use some capabilities from routers. It's really great development of modern age. It's called BGP flow spec, because even if you don't have equipment which can filter DDoS attacks, and most of the modern routers like Juniper MX series, Cisco ISR series, Nokia series like Huawei, they have support for BGP flow spec. What is BGP flow spec? It's like, in terms of RFC, because everyone thinks RFC is it's RFC 5575. And what does it mean? It's just distributed way make changes for ACLs using BGP protocol. And FastNetMon can help you with it. So, for example, if like your network is under attack of DNS amplification, and in case of DNS amplification, it's typically fragmented packets, fragmented UDP packets, which are coming from port 53. And FastNetMon can find out, like, yes, instead of blocking single host, like completely, it can find out, like, okay, we have problems with UDP, port 53, and fragmented. And then it creates specially crafted BGP flow spec announce to your backbone. And then your backbone on almost on line rate can filter out this malicious traffic and again, save your network for until you reach your limits of your capacity.
So you would have customers come to you pre a DDoS attack. You don't get called in like if something really bad happens. It's too late by then.
Boss, you know, people never solve problem if they have no problem.
Yeah, true.
We have only small fraction of customers.
It's like the backbone. You get a call to say like we need your help. So what's next for the business then? Well, yeah, where do you see FastNetMon going next?
So we have a great deal of plans. So we have plans about development in different areas. So, but all the time we focus it on two areas. And second, like first, of course, it's DDoS. So we're just passionate about DDoS. We want, we work hard to add more support for different vendors, with different types of equipment, make it better, make deployment faster. And second area, what we work on, it's just started back in time as side project. It's network visibility, because you know, to detect DDoS attacks, we need to have lots of metrics. And at some point of time, we realized that we have so many metrics. So we have counters about per protocol distribution, per network, per host, per group of hosts, We have top talkers. We have peering reports because we have access to autonomous system number information. We have graphs about like what's peak usage for specific interface, for specific router, for specific upstream. And so it's second option, second feature we offer in FastNetMon, and we are working hard to make it even more convenient for customers because we can see interest in the direction. And it's great addition for DDoS mitigation because after we mitigated attack, we need to understand what happened, why happened, what was impact of it, like what kind of service was like main target. And in this case, traffic visibility is crucial to have in place after you mitigate a DDoS attack because it provides lots of information how you may prevent attack, what actually happened during attack. Because problem is like, again, it's like development of latest maybe 2 or 3 years, DDoS attacks, they stopped to be just only reason. So because back in time, people started DDoS attack for sake of DDoS. What they do now, it's way more sophisticated. Sometimes they can do DDoS attack just to move attention away from some specific service. Again, it happened with banks. So because like bad guys, they start DDoS attack, and everyone started running around like, hey, whoa, we have DDoS attack, like what we can do. But at the same time, bad guys steal all their secrets, accounts, transactions, very quiet and relaxed because nobody cares.
What's been like the in your career, what's been the most challenging disaster you personally encountered then?
It wasn't technical, I would say, because I remember again that was first company I found that our network engineer left without any notice. Efficiently tomorrow I leave it. Like
no way. You're not a network engineer, are you?
I wasn't, I was CTO, so I was in charge of DDoS stuff, but I wasn't the guy who actually like, because BGP routers, like VLANs, all that stuff. But during next month, I learned how to do it because it was only one option. Because because we immediately started hearing new people, but it's not a network engineer. It's not the guy you can easily find out, and we work it in quite not very large town, and so we had no great choice. We started interviewing people, but in the same time we need to keep network running. And it was so I would say it was like emergency onboarding into networking, into really serious networking. And by the end of it, I was in perfect condition to understand how Quagga works, what kind of BGP communities I need to set. And of course, how I can create VLAN, double target VLAN. It was great experience, but I would say it was most stressful months in my life.
Just become a network engineer in a month. Yeah, I bet that was hard. And not just becoming a network engineer in a month, but with your whole career, how do you think your degree and your computer science degree played a part in that?
Of course, it was very helpful because, again, I said like I started working on third course of university, but first course of my university and second course, they provided really great background about it. So it was graph theory, computational theory, like algorithms, lots of basic stuff you must know. Because many people may say like, I'll never use compute theory. But I find out during my career, like when you work in really like, it's called deep tech areas. And you cannot just Google stuff. So of course, if you work popular technologies, you may be, I don't need to know how computers work. I don't need to work what kind of electronic condition behind this event. Like I don't care about like graph theory because I'll never experience because I am looking forward to maybe to have career in maybe finance. No, graphs in finance, theory, nothing. And like functional languages are absolutely, they're more very specific for science, for universities. They're so abstract. They cannot be applied for real world. But what I can see, same approaches, even after like 10 years, same approaches they apply, they still work. Microprocessors, they became faster, but they didn't change. And if I need to understand why this stuff is slow, I can use this my knowledge back, like, I know why, because this why and this why and this why. So I would say it was very useful, But again, and typically like in Britain, it's absolutely fine to like you got basic knowledge, you basic stuff maybe for 2 or 3 years, and then you need to keep your hands dirty. And that's what happened with me but with me it happened just basically because I got job. It was great choice, great option.
We've had previous guests on though that have said, and that you've touched on this as well. You can learn as much as you want in a book. You can learn as much as you can in the classroom, and you can study, look at online, watch YouTube videos, etc. But unless you do it, you won't pick it up. Which obviously, as you've kind of expressed there, like learning, being full time at uni whilst working in a full time job, it's probably no better way to pick up what you're learning at uni. So you've kind of mentioned it there, and we've touched on this throughout. But is there any particular advice you'd give to someone now who's like an 18-year-old looking to get started in the industry?
I would say, because all the time we have choice. Of course, everyone has. We can focus on like shiny products, shiny companies, like shiny technologies. But during my career, I witnessed like many sunrises of companies, many sunsets of companies, and my career is not that long. So my professional career is around like how much is it? Like it's way less than a decade, and I witnessed death of many technologies. And those technologies, they were best possible when I was at university. So if you look around you and look, oh, this technology is shiny, this technology will be very likely dead in 10 years. So my recommendation is to focus on stuff which will not change. It's like maybe very low level stuff about computers again. If you like, instead of learning maybe how specific network vendor works, learn how networks work inside, how BGP is implemented, how it can work, what kind of internals of it, like read software, read code, understand like how operating system works. Because this knowledge, they will last way longer than any vendor, any product. Because in this case, my best example is a protocol called DNS.
Yeah.
This protocol recently crossed 36 years. Wow. Can you imagine? And it still works. It's very small alteration. So back in time, if you like 36 years ago, you decided to be DNS engineer for 36 years, you can make some money. Not you know, not getting rich, but some money.
And it's funny you'd say that, because some of the guys we've had on more on the network engineering side, their advice is not to focus on the shiny objects, but actually understand how the basics of fundamentals of networking. How does the packet go across a network, and the basic routing protocols and that kind of stuff. So it's funny you'd say that the same for your speciality as well. Is there anything you would give advice for yourself if you could speak to your younger self?
Keep doing what I'm doing. I did lots of mistakes, lots of them. But what I learned, like, because maybe one of the options I have, like, don't do this mistake. But I think it's mistakes is one of the best ways how you actually learn stuff. Because you don't learn from our success stories. No. We need to mess up something seriously.
You'll make some serious mistakes. No, you're right. I appreciate that as well. It's been great speaking to you today. We've got just a quick fire round to go. This part here is 5 questions, just a bit about you personally. Just it's called quick fire, but you can go into as much detail as you wish, or you can be as quick as you want. If you could describe yourself using just 3 adjectives, what would they be?
Loud, dedicated, persistent.
Perfect.
Here again, 35 years of DNS protocol.
No, you're right. And how much caffeine would you say you consume in a day?
Average 1 cup, because it makes me stupid. If I can do 2 cups in some days. If I do 3 cups, my day will be ruined, because I will be shaking and I will be like, I need to do something, but I actually cannot do something because I'm shaking.
You get too energetic from it.
Yes, exactly. I don't need it. I'm already crazy, and I don't need caffeine to make it worse.
And Apple or Android products?
iPhone.
Okay. I talk about this on every episode, right? And everyone always says Apple. And every time I'm always surprised and say, I thought everyone would say Android. So then I did a post on it, and I had loads and loads of technical whizzes go, oh yeah, but that's incorrect. It's either iOS or Android, or it's Apple or Google, and on the post I did on LinkedIn, I actually had a lot more people say Android products than, or Android over iOS. Sorry. So it's been a learning curve for me. Why iPhone?
So not why Apple, because many years ago, I moved away from macOS and MacBooks in general. So they're getting better now, but it was just too complicated for me as a software engineer. So, it was getting too smart for me because all the time I need to disable these fancy security features, because, I need to develop on hardware and I need access to hardware and all fancy features of operating system. That's why I work on Linux. So on from iPhone, I think it's just convenience because it just works fast, works well. It can survive few years of my quite heavy exploitation, and that's all I need. So typically, I just looking for things to be simple, don't need need so much attention, and at least for now, iPhone works this way. If it starts asking for too much attention or breaks too frequent, I will look for different options.
Okay, and for you personally, do you prefer working from home or in the office?
Something in between. Since the start of my career, I work it remotely because it's only one way how I can actually keep my university place and work for a company. But I miss people, so I want to discuss stuff, and if I want to make planning meetings, like what we do, what's our next step, what's our strategy, because I just need to exchange ideas. I need to test ideas. So
I hate working from home. I hated it anyway. I don't mind at the weekends if I have a bit to do. I just put my headphones on and crack on for a bit. But generally speaking, I do much prefer the office personally. But what was your favourite subject in school?
Physics.
And you've carried that on really in some way.
Kind of.
Perfect. Pavel, that was great. It's been great getting to know you better, hearing a lot more about your career. I didn't know too much about DDoS, if I'm honest, coming into it, being more of an IP recruiter myself. So I have learned a lot today myself, and I hope the listeners have. Next steps, really, if anybody wanted to reach out or if anybody had any questions for you, where's the best place they can find you?
Just Google my name. You will find out lots of options. So, of course, it's LinkedIn. I have open messages. Message me at any time. I have quite active account and Twitter. And, of course, FastNetMon.com. It's the best option to reach me, to ask me questions. And because we are open source project, it's my account on GitHub. So Pavel _Odinstov on GitHub. And literally so many options. And in terms of FastNetMon community, we have around 10 different social media accounts, rooms, chats. Just Google them, join to any of them, and you will meet so many nice people, and including me. Sometimes I can answer stuff, but more often, somebody from community will provide way better, faster, and more, skilled answers than me. But that's power of community. That's how it should work.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. For you too. Goodbye.